when you're planning a wedding, during a pandemic, after a pandemic, inflation, things are more expensive. So you need to be realistic and create wiggle room for, if things are way more expensive. You got married 4 months ago, things are more expensive now. So you need to think about all of that, take account of, the financial, the economic situation of where you want to do your wedding. During a pandemic, after a pandemic, inflation, things are more expensive. So you need to be realistic and create wiggle room for, if things are way more expensive. You got married 4 months ago, things are more expensive now. So you need to think about all of that, take account of, the financial, the economic situation of where you want to do your wedding.
I like that you guys are talking about financial. That leads me to my next question. What steps did you take to save for your wedding? Whether having a joint account, spreadsheet, budget, cutting out going on days. I know Debola, you're in the process of doing a plan for a wedding. So what are some things that you're doing to take care of that cost, and what's something that you guys did to prepare for that cost of a wedding?
So definitely asking people, how much they spend on a wedding, things that they liked in the wedding, things that they didn't like. So we know what we should have, what we can do without. Since we're doing a destination wedding, we were equipped with a wedding planner who's helping out with a lot of the things. And there's also Bianca, one of her aunts works at AAA. So we also have a AAA agent that's been helping us handle the hotel stuff and the flights for our guests. That's been very helpful. So we kind of have a range, the dollar amount of how much the resort's going to charge for the wedding. So we were able to figure out how much money do we need to save per month to kind of get to that point. Of course, it's good. There's always a surprise that's going to happen. So we have to save more than what we expect to pay. So doing that, we opened up I would recommend opening up a savings account with a high yield savings account to put the money in, so you get some interest on that money. I would also recommend what we did. We opened up American Express card, and we put all the wedding purchases are going on that card. I was referred by one of my coworkers, so there was a referral bonus. If you spend about $4,000 in a couple of months, I think it's in 6 months, you get 75,000 points. And that's super easy because you're just putting all of the wedding stuff on the card. So the points help towards whatever you need, flights, hotels, much cashback. So we're still charging everything on that card because the card, we have the money already in the savings account to pay it off. So it's as soon as we make the charge, we pay it off. So we took a flight to Jamaica to check out the resort to make sure it's good in the food. We put it on the card, and then the week we got back, we paid it off. So I would definitely recommend, if you are financially disciplined enough for that, because that's an American Express card. So if you mess up with the payments, that's not good. But if you are financially disciplined enough, get that card. It's easy points right there for whatever you need to do. And also keep on checking with your finances, because while we are taking out money every week or every paycheck, it's things are still going on. So I need to make sure I have enough money to pay for my bills, because I have a lot of automatic bills, Geico, Toyota for my car, Easy Pass, these things happen automatically. So I had an issue where money was coming out for the savings, and other things were coming out, and then I hit a point where I was negative. I was what's happening? Because everything is so automated, so you need to be on top of your finances completely to make sure money is going to where you need to pay for like your daily bills, and then money is going to savings for the wedding.
I will say, listening to you, it's like, wow, you really have a plan. That's admirable. I think for us, our planning was more so that after we came back from Nigeria, that we weren't just like eating crackers and water. We were so focused on where we were gonna live. Like that was my goal. Us saving for where we're going to live. Like that's all we cared about. I didn't care. Like if someone had said, "Oh, you can't have the wedding anymore," I don't care. I wanted to make sure that we had somewhere to live. And it was very stressful because, again, like I said, school, work, and then the closer you get to the wedding, it's like, okay, so you're reaching out to people, you're not getting feedback, and it's like, okay, so where are we gonna live? Are we gonna move in with somebody? And we didn't want to do that. And thank God something came to us at the last minute. It just seemed like a month before the wedding, everything that we were trying to do kind of fell in place, which was great. But I do, looking back, I kind of wish we did more exploring into like what you're saying about American Express and all that. I wish that we kind of looked into more financial planning, because like we kind of just figured, hey, we're not going to be homeless. Like, I mean, we're not going to be poor when we have jobs, right? So that's kind of what we were thinking. But looking back, there are ways that we could have set ourselves up better. Like I said before, when we got married, thank God, things, financially got a lot better. But I kind of wish that we did a little bit more. I wish we knew about this stuff. This is what it is already. I wish we knew about it. Because yeah, it's.
I didn't know about it until I knew about it. Basically,
Yeah.
It's like you just never know this stuff because no conversation, and like this is no shade on a lot of parents. Like who they didn't probably know about this stuff, or like didn't have to think about this stuff when they were planning their wedding. So it's like who you only know until you know.
Yeah, and it's usually that kind of thing is usually word of mouth too. It's not anyone out there saying, you know what, you're getting married. I'm gonna sit down with you and outline all of the sort of financial tips and savings that you can do, just like what you mentioned. So it really just comes down to like, people handing you that information. Or being in a space where, oh, hey, you're doing this. I think you might be able to take advantage of, this opportunity to get cash back to yourself by using this card. But I guess my advice for anyone going through this process right now is to, try to tap into resources as much as possible and ask for help. Knowing when to ask for help too can be difficult. I, for one, can be stubborn when it comes to asking for help. But it's really important that you aren't afraid to take that step and say, hey, I need some guidance in this area with the planning. What are some options that I can look into? Or what are some offers that I can take advantage of that would, benefit our planning process?
Yeah, we did it the old-fashioned way. You save your money, see how far that takes you, and you go from there. It worked out.
Yeah.
I mean, we were saving pretty early, even before we started doing like the wedding planning. But we weren't really saving exactly. We were saving for the wedding, and we also wanted to invest in property. So we started saving early, but we didn't have we didn't have a credit card, which is like really smart. Thinking about if you want to put get cash back on your expenses for the wedding, that's really smart. I would say I wouldn't advise anyone to do what we did. We were in a housing program during the time when we were planning for the wedding. It really restricted our spending. It was good and it was also bad because it was very difficult it was physically and financially tasking for us because we couldn't really take out so we had savings, we had a couple of different savings accounts. We could only spend from one saving account, and when that was depleted, it was like we couldn't take out from the other savings accounts. So it was very, very hard for us to actually spend, pay for things for the wedding. So we had to get other pools of income aside from our main income. So it was really financially tasking, physically tasking, emotionally tasking. It was a lot for that period of time. But looking back, it was really good for us financially because we did it if we had access to all of our savings, we would have actually spent way more than what we wanted to spend, because you just have access to all of the money that you have. So I wouldn't advise anyone to do what we did because, it took a lot from us, but I think, it helped us to at least not go overboard with spending because we're able to stay close to our budget, and that was helpful for us.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I also want to recommend Debola's strategy in using a credit card because when you said that, I was thinking about because I have there's a business credit card that I have that we chased that the last I think about 9 or 10 months I've had over about $5,000 in cash back. So yeah, so it's I bought 2 laptops and I had cash back about 2,300 I think about 2 weeks ago. So bottom line is you just have to reset their types of cards like that will help towards what you just mentioned. And Demi was talking about also how to I think I picked how to cut cost in terms of when you're planning. So one thing that I noticed is that you eat out a lot. It's a problem. We cook, but we I buy lunch, so I don't, even if I say lunch to work, I still buy post lunch. Imagine you spend an average of $20 per person a day. That's $40 for 2 of you in a month. It's around $800 or 20 in a month. So if you do that for 10 months, that's about $8,000 just eating outside. So you can save a lot of money when it comes to that. So that's just what I want to add.
You don't realize how much you really don't realize how much you spend buying food outside until you sit there and I'm looking for the food. And you need to tell me that I just spent $16 on this plate of food that I did not enjoy, and then I'm still gonna be hungry later on, in my shift, and I'm still gonna go outside and buy food. Maybe I'll spend another $10 to $12. And how much is that in a day? And then I'm gonna go home and come back to work and then do the same thing. It's cook your food because you probably make it better anyway. Trust me. I've spent so much money on food, and this last week and this week, I'm no. If I have to eat rice, plantain, and all that every single day, that is exactly what I do. I sit in my cafeteria, my oven, and I enjoy it, and I would tell my rice, my stew, my plantain, and whatever meat we have in the house. If it's turkey every day, I will eat that turkey every day. It saves me money. So for us, the housing program that we are doing, the early onset, you have to write out your expenses. You have to create a whole breakdown of everything you spend, from hair, whether it's nails, even personal care items, every single thing that your monthly expenses, your doctor's appointments, your co-pays, all of those things, you break it down per month. And that really helps to see how much you're spending so that you can actually know how much you can actually save. Because sometimes we have all these lofty goals of savings and you don't actually know how much you have left after you spent all of your money, paying your credit cards and car notes and everything. So that was helpful for us because we
we kind of had an idea of, it may not be the exact because, you have all these miscellaneous things you spend money on, emergencies come up, but at least if you know how much you're spending, you kind of have like a realistic, goal of how much you can save. So that was very, very helpful for us. I encourage anybody to do that. I also think that if you can create a joint account for savings is very helpful because when you have multiple accounts, for us, we couldn't do that because of the housing program we were doing. It wouldn't allow us to because we already started the process with our individual accounts. So we couldn't do it. But, based off of the counseling that we got from other older couples and, the things that they were doing with their money, it would have been very helpful for us to just do that. And, now we're able to do it, but during the wedding planning process, that would have been very, very helpful for us to, just see, have the money coming together in one place and, have a joint account. But as long as you trust each other, I mean, if you're getting married, you should be able to trust each other. So, people have different takes about joint accounts. So do what works best for the two of you.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And I want to ask, since you're talking about finance, when you're talking about wedding, you're talking about this whole festival, one thing that is very common that everybody has to spend money on is the ring. The engagement ring. The engagement ring to the wedding ring. I want to ask the gentlemen, how did you guys go about
The engagement ring.
engagement ring and weddings and wedding ring and
Oh.
You're right.
This is what I'll say. I'm not gonna say a lot. There's either like, I'm the type of person, if I'm gonna give you something, I want you to like it. So I'm gonna ask you what type of ring you want. So that's where I started from. I did research. There's a, for me, I prefer a simple ring. I don't need anything glitzy elaborate. And if I was gonna buy a ring for my fiance, I might have bought something that was like just regular. But she had her preference, and I respect that. And we had to come to a compromise because rings are very expensive. I think the type of ring that she wanted, if I was gonna get a regular diamond, was probably $10,000 or something like that. And I'm like, wow. There's also just so everyone who watches this, there's the lab generated diamonds, which are basically the same as diamonds, except they sparkle a little bit less, but you can't even tell by the naked eye. A lot cheaper. Moissanite, there you go. There's also, if your spouse doesn't want a diamond, there's rubies, sapphires, a lot of different stones that you get that are cheaper than a diamond. So she had a certain type that she wanted, and then we talked about it. I presented her like, this is what I think. I don't want to go into debt over a ring. And through talking and compromise, we got her a ring that she liked that was cheaper than what we originally had to pay. And we were both happy. I would recommend, I don't know if this is something that men do, but like some type of saving just in case, like beforehand. Like, I don't want to say save up for a ring, but I mean, like, if I had saved up for a ring, I would have been in a better position. Because I still have that charge there, because I'm still paying for the wedding. So it's like, it's there. I'm happy she got the ring that she wanted, but I would definitely want people to know rings are expensive. Unless, you guys are on the same wavelength, like, hey, just get a gold band and we're good. Just know that rings are expensive. And if you're going to buy one, you might want to, save something.
True. No, I was just saying, like, if you don't get a ring, you're just not gonna marry her. Because even before Layo proposed to me, I was like, we were planning a theoretical wedding / life together in our heads already, and where we were gonna be once we were done. with school and everything. So it's just like, if he didn't, I mean, I was in my mind, I was thinking, oh yeah, we'll buy the ring, you know, closer to the wedding and whatever. But it's like, so that's how I was thinking. I'm hearing, look at our situation. How are we going to fit a ring into that? It's just like, if we get the ring, we get the ring. If we don't get the ring, we will get one, right? Eventually. And it doesn't mean it doesn't make us any more married than, I mean, whether we have it or not, it doesn't make us any more married. I'm not there that we're the ring. But it doesn't make me any less married or more married with or without a ring. Like I'm still gonna marry him regardless. So and we were still talking about it anyway. So
I would say for me too, like I didn't even know what ring I wanted. I didn't even know what kind of ring until I started to think about it. Like, oh, okay, maybe I'd like an oval shaped ring. You know, I didn't know specifically what kind of, you know, gems. I didn't even know what I wanted. I felt really out of place because I just felt like a lot of girls just knew what they wanted. I didn't really know. I never really thought about, oh, okay, I want this specific kind of ring. And it's so funny. I think, you know, my family, I would say Daddy Larry specifically, like we were already planning our wedding before he proposed to me. So it wasn't like, you know, like we were already planning, you know, although the proposal itself wasn't a surprise. The proposal itself was a surprise to me, you know, and it was lovely and everything. But, you know, we already knew we wanted to get married. You know, he used to like make fun of us, like, you know, you people are doing it backwards because you're supposed to, before you start thinking about the wedding, you know, but we're like, you know, we're together, we wanted to get married. You know, we were already thinking like, you know, what kind of wedding we want, where do we want to go to and stuff like that. So, you know, but anyways, yeah, I will hand it over to you.
So I was just like, you know, pay attention, like social likes, and from there do my research. But you know, I very much resonate with what Brother Debola was saying too. That do your research well in advance as well, because you just don't know how expensive rings are until you start doing the research process. And you'll start learning about the different carats and the ring sizes. And then if you have like diamonds and the band of the ring versus no band, like there's just so many different tiers. The earlier on you kind of do your research to know how much to save towards that or to set aside towards that would be kind of like beneficial for you. So you don't feel kind of like stretched in. But also just knowing your spouse, knowing what she likes and what she wants, and kind of catering towards that, you know. Yeah. So.
All right, so guys, if you're working, I want to be practical over here. So when I was about to propose, I was in school, grad school, and I was paying my tuition out of pocket, and you know how that would be like, you know, financially. So. She sent me some pictures of what she wanted. She wanted a rose book, you know, but she wasn't like, it's not like, oh, you have to like buy expensive ring or whatnot. And you know, I think I was at that point that I had to pay my tuition because I had like a monthly payment plan from school. So, and I figured out a way. I don't want to buy something. I don't want to buy a fake ring. You don't want to propose with a fake ring, you know, like. But, so no, the reason is, but this is the reason, right? So there are rings that would last, and they're not that expensive. And I made a research, maybe some type of research whereby people would buy a regular ring as an expensive ring. They don't even know what they're buying, and they'll pay top dollar for something that is not even worth it, right? So you have to even first of all understand that. But my situation is that because I knew that I want a type of ring and I want to be sure about what I'm buying. So I had to like custom make my ring. So I sent it to someone, they did it. So it's not saying I didn't spend a lot of money. First, if you want to know the price, just DM me, right? Like I should be wearing the ring for 5 years, and this is it. So I didn't really spend a lot. I just try to research and see what I can like within my budget, and I was able to get. So just make sure like the research, make sure like I understand that a lot of women they pay attention to that they try to attach their value to a ring. I don't blame them for putting that way, but I think that it's not just about the ring. You can have the rings, you can always upgrade, you can always buy something that, because I'm still gonna upgrade this, you know what I mean? So it's not about the ring. It's okay to want to have a flashy ring and to like this and traffic when you're driving. I'm gonna click it, I'm the same thing. Like, it's okay to do all those things, but what is the most important thing is to just to get you to the point of what you do and from yes to I do and actually getting married and start a family. So that's the most important thing.
It's funny because we actually had our introduction planned already. Like this is how. Well, we had a date and we knew that this is how we wanted it to go, and there was no talk of any proposal. And my sister was asking me, "Hey, what kind of ring do you like?" And I was just like, "I don't know." And then I remember seeing someone's ring, and I was like, "Oh, I think rose gold's kind of pretty." And then it was just like, I kind of started looking into different kind of rings from there. And even at that point, I didn't even know that there was diamond on. Because I'm like, why is this ring like $300 or why is this ring $3,000? And they look exactly the same. And then I realized that it's very, very specific about what, how like cuts it, like everything is very specific and the type of diamond, the diamond, not diamond, this type, that. I was like, oh, so I don't think I really necessarily want the $300 ring. I don't want the $3,000 ring, but can we find something affordable? That was just my thinking. And I didn't know how like expensive rings really were. But yeah.
What you see online is different.
And that's another thing. I saw rings like online, and then when I saw them in person, I was like, why are they so small? And that's how much you want for that small little ring. And I was like, oh, so that's what goes into it. Yeah. We had our introduction plan already. Like we were just waiting for the day, and then
Nah, one thing I definitely like.
Oh, I just want to put in a plug again. Collab generated diamonds will look identical to real diamonds. Nobody will know. And it's a diamond that have the same hardness, the same sparkle. Or if you don't want to go with gemstones, are cheaper, much cheaper, and they look just as nice as a diamond. Don't let society, because like people were not getting diamond rings back in the day. They were just getting gold bands or whatever, or they weren't really. Then the media and what was it? What do you call it? Propaganda. They started saying, "Oh, get diamond rings, and then that's the thing. Don't let society trick you.
And again, you can always upgrade.
right.
Yeah.
That's always upgrade your rings.
Great, great indeed. One thing I'm getting from this conversation that from you guys planning to those who are already married is that you guys kept on thinking about the future. And I want to ask for you guys that are married, how has your finance been since saying I do? What has changed, since, now everything's together, past the celebration, there's no pressure to any, planning festival. So how's that been for you guys?
I'll say I don't know, immediately as soon as we got married, it just seemed like everything kind of freed up. You still have that adjustment phase after the wedding, after the honeymoon. Before I got married, I started a new job and I hadn't accrued enough time for vacation. So I took my wedding time with no pay. And, there was an adjustment period coming back from that, but it was like, we didn't, not that we didn't feel it, but it was just so we passed through it thankfully with ease. It wasn't a big deal. I will say, we still have our seasons, but I thank God, overall, for me, this is, just what I've seen, what I was raised to believe. My husband makes, I give him the respect of saying where the money goes and what happens with this. we joined our accounts like a few months before the wedding. I don't remember, but we joined our accounts. Oh no, I came onto his account. I mean, the money goes to the account. He tells us, oh, can you send money here? Can you do this and pay that or whatever? For me, my mentality, the Bible tells us that my husband is the head of the household and that I should respect him. And this is the way the Lord has laid it on my heart to respect my husband. And whatever he says goes financially. Like, it's not because I can't make decisions on my own. Like, if I want to go out and buy something, or if I want to go out and do whatever, like I'm well within my right to do that. But I choose to honor Christ in that I give him that respect of staying. Like, I'll ask him, would you mind if I do this? Can I get my nails done? I want to do my hair. When can I get that done? And he'll say, whatever you want to do. And he doesn't. Lyle doesn't care. He's just like, whatever, do whatever you want to do. But I still make it a habit to give him that respect, so he knows, like, you are the head, right? And as my husband, I will go according to what.
This is interesting because with the housing program that we had, we already established a pattern of savings. So post marriage, we just kind of like continued with that. But I think that process also got us really, even before marriage, talking about how we're spending our money, what credit cards do we have, what debts do we have, how do we plan to pay it off. So entering marriage was just kind of like a continuation of that communication. As far as purchases go, we've been talking about how to establish our accounts with the accounts that we do have now, and what we spend on the day to day. But I kind of am also remember the comment you, Rolake, I made earlier, just about the little things that we spend money on, and then you look at the account and you're like, wait a minute, how did it get here? But you don't realize that you cumulatively are spending money on those things. So I think, this season now that we're in, for me, has been more of an awareness of my spending habits. Growing up, I've always been like a free spender. And I'm just like, oh, it's my money. Especially food, yeah. And I was like, I don't spend that much money on clothes. So I can get it, but it all adds up, especially when you have a significant other that you are making investments with. So that consciousness, that awareness of what you spend, no matter how little you think it is very key. Because trust me, it does add up, and you can budget left and right. But if you're not conscious about those things that you're spending money on, you're gonna lose track. So very crucial.
It's gonna add it's kind of like checks and balances for us, because if I'm spending way too much on clothes, you feel like, okay, we'll kind of like, do you need that? It's always saying that. Whenever I want to buy something, I'm like, do you think I should buy it? It's like, do you need it? So I'm like, I don't need it, but I want it. I just want it, and it's okay for me so much. But yeah, it's been, checks and balances helpful. I think we've learned, from other, more seasoned couples, some systems of capping the dollar amounts where, maybe if you are spending over a certain amount, let's say $100, checking with your spouse, like, hey, is this okay to spend this on this? Just so that you're both aware of, big ticket item expenses or purchases. Yeah. So, but I think the housing honestly has been a blessing to us, even though it was it was a really, really huge challenge during the wedding planning, but it's really helped us, it's disciplined us in our spending. And it's really just helped us to be more aware of, and to plan better financially.
And I also like I was saying, we go through seasons with our finances. At the end of the day, like, it's no big deal. But I will say, going through those seasons, like, now I'm just like, oh, wow, so I can have lunch and I can, you know, as tired as I am, like, cause I am very like you said, I don't spend a lot, I don't really shop for myself. It was kind of sad, but I don't really shop for myself, and I just don't. There's not a reason, I just don't. So I'm like, I can buy food, or okay, well, I can drive someone to pick up parking, it's no big deal. And you know, that those things add up, but then when you're going through times like, I'm like, you know, then you gotta go back and take the bus and the train. Gotta pack your lunch on top of that. But it's good because it humbles you, first of all. And then it makes you, it shows you like, you know what, you really don't need to spend all that money. Like, I have like meat in the freezer that I'm going to make, and I can use that for lunch, and you know, make things that you actually like. Like, and it's not like we don't know how to cook. We just kind of get used to just, I want this today. Like a few weeks ago, we were like, oh, like let's get some paella. You know, it's just things like that when you realize, like, okay, yeah, you know, you're not gonna go hungry, but at the end, you also have to be mindful of the fact that, like, you don't want to just be reckless. Like, yes, money is coming in. Yeah, you have a job and you'll be able to pay that off. But do you want to keep putting yourself in that situation when you really don't necessarily have to? It's like it disciplines you when you go through those seasons where you don't have as much as you would like. So I thank God for those, because they really teach you a lot about, you know, how you can actually be disciplined if you choose not to be and then you're forced to be. It's like it really helps you put things in perspective.
This was definitely a great conversation. You know, I learned a lot from you guys. And one thing that it seemed like a repetition through this conversation is delayed gratification. You know, whether it's, you know, trying to save for a house, you know, whether it's saving money when you're range, packing lunch. And I hope those who are listening take notes of that. Like, it's important to delay certain gratification so you can always update, you can always upgrade. Which leads me to ask the final question. What would you guys' final word be, you know, for someone who may be single or may be in the process of going to say I do? What would your final words be to them?
Right. Oh my gosh. Because it's nice to plan and everything, but life is not going to go as you expect it to go. Like, honestly, just a little transparency here. Like, after the pandemic started, 2020? Yeah. So after I finished school, like I went back to school after I finished school. I got a job and everything was going great. Like, we were making money, saving, and it was great. Like, everything was good. You know, we didn't have to pay for daycare. Like, we had money to save, and then we could still go out, and we were able to do a lot. And then I lost my job. It was like, what am I supposed to do? And later on, I found that I was pregnant. I'm like, I'm not working. I have to go to prenatal visits. David still has some checkups here and there. And it's just like, what am I going to do? Like, we had a plan. Like, going into 2021, we had a solid plan, and we were making steps towards that plan, and it was going very well, thank God. And then, like I said, I lost my job, and then it was just like, okay, so what are we supposed to do now? Bills still have to get paid. So, all right, we have savings, we're good. And then, well, now you're expecting another child. And it's like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Mind you, I'm still not working at this point. Nobody's calling me back. I'm not even having interviews. And it's just like, what's gonna happen? And thank God, you know, he worked it out in his own way, to where I was able to get a job. But like, pray, because you don't know what life is gonna throw at you. Like, you just don't know. And I don't care how well you plan. The Bible tells us, like, the ways, yeah, man makes his own way. I'm paraphrasing. Man makes his own ways, but ultimately, like, it's up to the Lord. And a man that says he's gonna do this today, and that today is foolish without saying, by God's grace. Like, without saying by God's grace, because it's only by God's grace that you're able to do those things. And what happens if you plan down to the letter and then everything just doesn't go as planned? One thing I've learned in this marriage, look, life is not going to go the way we want it to go. Because life is not going the way we want it to go. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it's not going to go the way you want it to go. Trust the Lord's sovereignty, but make sure that you committed to his way. Like you can, it's great to tell the Lord, look, this is what I want to do. This is what I have in mind. But ultimately, like Christ said, let your will be done and not mine. Like it's great, it's fine to plan, but just know that God's will needs to prevail over your will. Like it's not worth it to put yourself through that unnecessary heartache when you could have just committed, yes, requested, but also submitted to ultimately whatever it is that he wants to do for you. So that's my advice. Pray, because Christ has to be the center of your marriage.
Amen.
I would say going through the wedding planning process, it'd be great if you and your significant other were like kind of the same type of person, but sometimes you may be with someone who's a little different, you know, who's dealt with finances differently. Like, you know, not everyone is like, I'm not going to buy a $1,200 jacket. You know, some people are okay with it. Some people are not okay with it. So, compromising and talking, communicating is definitely important. I would also say, even though this is a financial talk about wedding planning, don't always think about the finances, because when I'm the one that's like talking, thinking about it a lot, and then it becomes suffocating for like the other person. And you know, sometimes like, oh, let's just go out and get some food, or let's go on a vacation. I mean, recently I was blessed enough to be in a job where like they is in Israel, so we went to Israel I went for work, and she tagged along the vacation. Plug in, it was paid for. Her part was paid for by the card, the American Express points. So perfect. And I've never been in a position where I didn't have to think about money. So we were able to go out, get dinner and lunch and stuff, and the company paid. And it was like we were so happy. And then after, she was like, "I'm so glad we did this," because like before we were thinking about the wedding, saving money. Now we're back, we're thinking about saving money for the wedding. It's like it's a constant buzzing in your head. So having that time away from like worrying about the wedding, worrying about who's coming, who didn't pay, you know, finances are important, but don't forget to talk to each other, take a break from it. You know, don't think about the money from, take a vacation, you know, do something together. That's definitely important.
Yeah, praise God. So I would just say, if you don't, you know, take anything away today from the conversation, the Holy Spirit in my heart is to be disciplined. And I'm going to read Luke 16:10. It says, "He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. And he who is unrighteous in a very little thing is unrighteous also in much." Matthew 25:23 says, "His master said to him, well done, good and faithful slave. You are faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of the master." And this is just me saying that we talked about, you know, very little things about saving, cutting costs, spending less on the ring and all those things. And when God sees how you're managing the finances, when God sees how you're trying to be faithful to the leader that has blessed you, it will definitely open the heavens to bless you more. You can have more to do whatever you want to do, because he knows you have the much or the more that has released, he knows that you will manage it well. So the discipline in whatever you do. Thank you.
Amen.
That's so true. The thing that, you know, keeps coming back to me is like, take care of your mind, soul, and your body. You know, I remember during the wedding planning, it was very, very stressful. You know, it was very tasking, especially, I would say for me, it was. And, you know, there are things when you go through stressful times, the things that you've been struggling with before that period, they really, really come, they surface, they surface up. And so it was such a difficult period for me because I was just going through a time where I was stressed, and then I was dealing with some things, and I didn't take time to really take care of, myself very, very well. I was doing well at first, and then all of a sudden it just came crashing down. So I really say, like, take care of yourself, take care of your mind, take care of the things that are coming into your mind. If you want to take a break every now and then from, like just, things that you're watching, social media. It may not even be about like the glitz and glamour of wedding planning. It might be like stress with work. I was dealing with, a couple of stress here and there at work, and all kinds of other things. But I'm really, really grateful to God. God gave me like the ability, like I was able to, work, outside of my primary, my main job. I was able to work part-time. Opportunities were coming up, but it was very, very physically tasking for me. But just make sure that you take care of yourself, take a break. Like Debola said, I definitely did that. I had to take a break because I realized that, I was doing too much, and it wasn't of any benefit for either one of us, or, so I think that it's important to do a check-in with yourself, check in with your spouse. It's not always about, all of the planning that goes into it. You need to take, check in, make sure that you're paying attention to each other, because you're both like outside of wedding planning, you have other things that are going on. So I would say, and also like take care of your faith, like take care of your faith is so important. Like, don't, like, yes, it gets so busy. You might forget to, spend time, doing all the things that you used to do, your normal routine of like, reading your Bible, of studying the word, praying. Things shift because you're just, running, trying to get things done. All the things that you have to do, don't let it take the place of your relationship with God, because that's where you really need to rely your strength on. You need to rely on God. So that's what that's the only thing that comes to. And I also wanted to say, like, even in terms of like, I know we've been talking about, the discipline and, all these like things like the late gratification that you said too. I think that in order for us to also help ourselves is like, be realistic, that, you are not able to meal prep every single day. So be realistic about like, okay, I can meal prep for, maybe a certain number of days. And then on this day, okay, maybe this is the day that we might want to go out to eat. Give yourself breaks because it can be very physically tasking. It can be, everything takes time. If you don't have the time, then you need to be realistic about what you have time for. So those are the things that, come to mind.
I guess kind of in line with what you said too. Don't compromise your faith in the process. It's so easy for us to trust in our own power, especially when it comes to financial planning for a wedding, and putting everything together. And then when it doesn't go according to plan, we get discouraged so easily. And we forget who is at the center of everything that we're doing. It's really important that, you don't forget that in the planning process. Just put everything in God's hands, even if you don't see where the help is coming from. Trust that the help will be provided. I think that's like very important. We sometimes have tunnel vision when it comes to like our end goal, and we're like, we're gonna do X, Y, Z to get there. But God might want you to go in B direction or C direction, but we have to be careful to not get discouraged when we're trusting so much in our own power and it doesn't go according to plan. Remember that God is the ultimate master of anything that we plan. We talk about wedding, finances, getting a home, your job, your career. He is the master planner. So we have to be more sensitive to his will and to his word so that we don't trip and fall on our own feet when trying to put all this together.
I definitely want to say thank you to everyone here. You know, thank you to the panelists. You know, it definitely blessed me. You know, I'm single. So you know, as I like get into the stages of when I'm dating and courting, I'm definitely going to take these different advice that you guys gave me. And I personally want to thank God for making this event possible. And I also want to thank those who are here. You know, my mom, my aunt, the panelists, those who are watching on Zoom. And I also want to thank Pastor Dinka, you know, for making this happen and for allowing me to use this building to host my first of many events. Also, what else? Yeah, I want to thank my mom for continuing to support the brand, you know, the ups and downs she goes through it, always encouraging me. So thank you. And to show my appreciation to everyone, I want everyone to head to my website, welcomechristbrand.com, and download a free conversation starter guide, which will help you start a conversation on finance to get from yes, I do. As we heard from the different panelists, there's different ups and downs, the different conversations that you need to have. And with this this checklist, this conversation guide, it will help you start that conversation with your spouse. So thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and see you guys next week.